welcome back to Bougie Comfort Food. I'm your hostess, Mary Landry, and today we are making a Southern favorite. Now, I make mine a little bit different than some people do, and that's fine. It's all good. I've told you, even little variations on the recipe, can't handle that much spice, like more spice, whatever it is. Cook to your family's taste. That is the biggest part of cooking homemade food. And today, our Southern fried favorite, and yes, I did say fried, is fried pork chops, which happen to be one of my wife's favorite things. So today you're going to need eggs. I have 2 out, and if I need more, I'm going to get more. But you have to kind of do it as you go. I have 8 premium cut pork chops. I do not have bones in mine. Now you can do it with the bone in, that's fine if you like those. I just like boneless pork chops, and these premium cut chops just have a little fat ribbon around one side and the other side's nice and clean, and I prefer those. But if you like yours, you know, bone in and all that jazz, feel free. Just know your bone-in pork chops are going to be darker meat. So they're going to have a richer taste. Now, I'm not a big pork chop fan, honestly. I prefer either ham or bacon, maybe sausage, but it's okay. Everybody has a different taste, and when I mentioned I bought pork chops yesterday, my wife said, "Oh, you make fried pork chops, huh?" So we're making fried pork chops today because I'm going to keep my wife happy. Now, I do not have seasoned breadcrumbs. I prefer to use seasoned breadcrumbs. But as you can see, my little container's empty. I get the Italian style ones. But I'm going to show you how to make your own Italian style breadcrumbs. It's not that hard. And I like to put seasoned flour as the first dredge. You're going to dredge these pork chops in flour, then egg, and then into your breadcrumbs so they stick, okay? You want your breading to stick, and you don't want it to get gummy, so don't let them sit too long after you fry them. Okay, let me rinse my hands off real quick. Again, because I touched other stuff and I want to touch my dry stuff now. There we go. So, like I said, this is a very easy recipe. All it takes to make your seasoned breadcrumbs, that's not going to fit in that bottle. You need about a tablespoon of Italian herb seasoning. I just buy the Great Value brand, no biggie. And you also want, let's get a spoon to stir these in. You want about 2 cups of plain breadcrumbs. Like I said, normally I like using seasoned ones, but I don't have them this time. My breadcrumbs have gotten clumpy in here. If they get clumpy, just tap them on the counter, they'll turn loose. There we go. So you're going to put about 2 cups of plain breadcrumbs. Oops, that's a little more than 2 cups. It's okay, let me get that clump back out there. There we go. About 2 cups of seasoned breadcrumbs or plain breadcrumbs. And you just mix your Italian herbs. If you're not doing Italian breadcrumbs, just mix that tablespoon of Italian herbs into the breadcrumbs. And you will see it looks just like the stuff you get out of a can, you know. If you're ambitious, you can toast your bread in the oven and dry it out and make your own breadcrumbs, but I'm not that ambitious. I want to get this show on the road, so we're going to do that. Now, to make my flour dredge, I use Tony Cacheres. Y'all know that's my favorite seasoning. That and lemon pepper. But I'm going to take about 2 cups of flour, because we want to make sure we have plenty. If you have to toss out the flour, flour's cheap. That's a good thing. All right, so we are going to just 2 cups of flour. Now I'm doing these in pie pans, little empty disposable pie pans. You can use whatever you choose. I just find this is easy. I can lay that pork chop down, lay it down, boom, onto my plate. Now, we are going to put these on a plate to rest before we put them in our oil. You don't rest them long, okay? If you rest them too long, they get sticky and gooey, and they're harder to fry, and the stuff comes off of them. That is the biggest complaint everybody I know has, is that their breading comes off. Now, to that 2 cups of flour, we're putting a tablespoon and a half of Tony Cacheres. Now, the reason I do that is I want them to have some flavor, and that flour is going to go next to your pork chops. So, in putting the Tony Cacheres in our flour dredge, we are putting more flavor into those pork chops. Now, you're just going to mix that tablespoon and a half of Tony's into your flour, just like you did with your herbs. And that gives you salt and pepper for these. Now, if you don't like Tony Cacheres or you can't have that much salt, you can omit that. You can just put pepper in it. Salt helps with this, but it's not an integral part of it. So you really don't have to put it in, and you can always salt to taste afterwards. But like I said, I like to do a seasoned dredge because that way it already has a little bit of flavor imparted in it. All right, so now we've got ourselves set up and we're ready with our dredging station. I'm probably going to need more egg than this, but that's okay. I can add that in a minute. Okay, so let's go ahead. Now that we've got our dredging station done, let's go ahead and put our oil in the pan. Now look, I don't have a ton of oil in my big jug. We have not been back to Sam's Club. So just know that you need to have about 1/4 to 1/2 of a skillet of oil in here, okay? About 1/4 to 1/2. Now I'm making sure that I can put my finger down in it because just to show you, if it comes up to my nail and my pork chop does too, I don't have enough oil in there. So we now know I need to add some more oil. Luckily I have some in a bottle over here that I keep by the stove. That's just for quick fry-ups when you're not doing a big thing, or to add to your recipe while you're going. I got to make sure I put oil on my grocery list. Now look, I just try to keep it below 1/2 because these are going to pop up at you, okay? And nobody wants to get popped in the face with hot oil or on your arms. Should you have little bears who are going to try to make this, watch over them and explain how to gently lower something into frying oil. Now, we're going to put our oil on medium because it will come up pretty quick. I use, I think it's safflower, no, canola oil. Canola oil. Now, you can use whatever type of oil you want. You can even fry these in olive oil if you're really trying to be healthy. But I'm going to warn you, olive oil burns at a much lower temp than most other oils. Avocado oil burns at a lower temp. So if you're frying in that, or grapeseed oil, you're going to burn a lot faster if you're not careful. So you just have to keep a real good eye on it and keep a grip on how far it's going. Now remember I told you I'm going to put those pork chops on a plate to rest. I'm going to show you the trick that helps to cut down on that, on them getting soggy, is just sprinkle a little bit of your breadcrumb down on the plate, because if it starts to get soggy, it'll just pick up more breadcrumb. That is the trick when you're frying a big passel of fish or chicken or pork chops or whatever you're frying. Put a little bit of whatever the dredge was down on the plate, and it'll pick that up when it gets wet. I will be showing y'all how to do fried fish very soon, probably catfish. So just hang tight for that recipe. It's coming up. So like I said, we have our breadcrumb mixture, we have our flour dredge, and we have our egg. So we are ready to get this show on the road. Let me move some of this stuff out of my way. Give me a moment. Since I probably won't need more flour or more seasoning, but we're going to leave it to the side just in case. All right, folks. So the dredging runs pretty quick, okay? And for those of you who are not aware how to test to see if your oil's ready to fry in, you put your hand over the pan, and if it feels warm, you're getting there. Don't put it too close, okay? And the way you can test to see if your oil's ready is take a few drops of water, just touch your hand to the faucet, and fling it down in that pan. If it gets to and going crazy, you're there, okay? All right, so let's start our dredge. We're going to dredge that pork chop first in the flour. We're going to kind of mush it down into the flour so it gets a nice coating, okay? Just kind of push it down into your Tony's and your flour mixture, okay? And I want to make sure all sides are equally dredged, especially that fat side that I have on my premium pork chops, because if you don't, it's not going to stick, okay? So now we've got our flour dredge. You see my pork chop is turned all white. Touch that side one more time. There we go. So you can see it's all covered in flour, and it'll wet through that flour pretty quick, but that's okay. We're going into our egg anyway. Next step is dredge it in egg. You're just going to take it, flip it over, make sure that egg's everywhere. Then we're going to set it right down in to our breadcrumb mixture. Coat it with breadcrumbs really well. Okay, you're going to just take it, and I take it and just kind of turn it around so that all sides, and I'm going to mash it down into those breadcrumbs just like we did with the flour, and make sure there's no wet spots, okay? And that's what your pork chop's going to look like, fully coated, and make sure it all has a coat, and then I'm going to lay it down on those breadcrumbs I put on that plate. All right, next pork chop up. So we're going to do this with the rest of our pork chops. I have 8 of them, so it's going to take a minute. But I will remind you, if you're enjoying this, consider giving us a like. It helps us reach more people. If you are new to the channel and haven't seen us before, welcome here. We appreciate you being here. If you're a long-time watcher of us, you know, we've only been on a year, but if you've been watching from the beginning, we appreciate you even so. And consider giving us a subscribe if this is the kind of content you think you might want to learn how to do. Our purpose here is to do upscale comfort food, and this definitely falls in that category. It is definitely upscale comfort food. I mean, who isn't comfortable with a fried pork chop? I mean, seriously. But, all right. Just hit that notification bell if you've subscribed to us, and you will know every time we upload something new to the channel. Now, they always tell you when you're dredging stuff to have a dry hand and a wet hand, and I didn't do that this time, but that's okay. No harm, no foul. The whole point is just to get these puppies in that frying pan so we can eat a dinner. Now, you can serve these with mashed potatoes and gravy. You can serve these with white gravy, you know, pepper gravy, country gravy. You can serve these with noodles, rice, whatever makes you happy, okay? I'm tonight going to make cheddar broccoli noodles from Knorr along with these, and I am going to make corn as my side dish. I was going to make corn on the cob, but I have not prepared for that right now. And that will take a little while, and I'm going to be busy frying pork chops, so it's just going to be niblet corns and some butter and some pepper. That's just how we roll around here. Now, if my Aunt Paula was down here, I would be making her some hot water cornbread to go with these, because that is one of her favorite things that my grandma used to make. And one day on this channel, I am going to show you how to make hot water cornbread just like my Aggie showed me years and years and years ago, about 40 years ago. when I got interested and said, "What you cooking?" My grandma was always good for showing me what she was cooking and how she did it. And I think part of my love for cooking came from my grandma. She passed away, unfortunately, when I was in my 20s, or maybe late 20s, early 30s. And I miss her terribly. She was a huge influence on my life. I lived with her for a year when my father had to return to the Middle East to the company he was working as an accountant for, J. Ray McDermott. He was an accountant for them for many years. And my mother was stressed with the life of, it looks like we got a visitor. So give me just 1 minute. Well, it was an unexpected guest, but not one that was coming to dinner. So they miss out on fried pork chops, right? So we're just continuing to dredge and flour and put breadcrumbs on everything. Dogs are getting all squirrely. I don't know why. Maybe because somebody knocked at the door. All right. So I was telling you about my Aggie. I lived with her and my grandfather, Papu is what we called him, all because of that was what my brother called them when he was a small child, and so that became the grandparent name. I know that a lot of grandmothers in southern states become Meemaw or Mamaw or something like that. I'm actually grandma to mine. Because somebody else claimed the name of Meemaw before I could, or Mamaw. I wasn't going to be Mamaw because my mother-in-law used to make a joke that Mamaw Landry's a bits. And yes, I said bits, not the other word. Because she was just an unpleasant being. And thank goodness I was spared of her presence. She had passed away before I came along, thank goodness. But anyway. All right, we're continuing that flour, egg, and dredge on this. Our oil ought to be coming up to temp soon. You can turn your oil up hotter if you choose. But like I said, I don't want it to get too hot too fast. But I am going to test it in just a minute, just in the way I told you. But I'm going to wait until I have to wash my hands to do that. So I'm going to wash my hands and rinse them real well. And speaking of my Aggie, she used to tell you, go wrench your hands off in the zinc. And I always thought that was hilarious. That I was supposed to go wrench my hands off. But she was a little old southern lady. She lived in North Louisiana in a little bitty town called Minden. And that is where you've heard me say my Aunt Paula is from. And my Uncle Will. And I very much miss my Aunt Paula. So Paula Taylor, if you are watching this right now, honey, I'm thinking of you while I'm frying these pork chops. So just know you are always on my mind, and I love you so much, Aunt Paula. My Aunt Paula's this sweet little old country lady. Well, I say little old country lady. She's not that old. But she is just adorable. And I have loved her ever since the day my Uncle Will introduced me to her and that he was dating her. She had a daughter who tragically passed away. She had a seizure. Brandy was a sweet girl, and I remember the day she was brought over to my Aggie's house for Aggie to babysit her. And she was younger than me. And Brandy came over, and she's real shy. She didn't move real well. She had some disability issues. And just a sweet little girl. And Brandy had an epileptic seizure while on a real twisty road in Mississippi. What's the name of that road, baby?
Natchez Trace Parkway.
The Natchez Trace Parkway. So she had a seizure while driving that late at night, and her foot hit the accelerator, and she ran off the road and was killed instantly when she hit a tree. So Brandy will always be in my heart. She is always in my Aunt Paula's heart. For a long time, it was her and Brandy against the world. And she was a real sweet girl. She had 3 sons, and one of them lives with my Aunt Paula and my Uncle Will currently, and the other 2 the younger 2, live with their other grandma. So, but I hate that my wife, now see, I've got a little spot that's kind of dry, so I put it through that dredge, just touch my finger in the dredge, in the egg dredge, and touched it to the pork chop so that I could put the breading on that. That's how you fix any little holes or repair anything along the way. And you see me keep going off camera, and what I'm doing is scraping all the clotted dredge off my fingers so I can keep trucking. We are on our last pork chop over here, so we're going to test our oil in just a minute, and you're going to see what I'm talking about with that shh and a little crackle and pop to it. You know your oil's up. Now, if your oil is not up to temp, wait. Do not put these down in your oil unless your oil is hot enough to fry with. If you do, what's going to happen is that oil is going to soak into that breading and make these greasy as all hell. And that's like going to a diner that doesn't know how to cook, okay? So don't do it. Now I'm on my last little pork chop, thank goodness, because I'm almost out of eggs. So you saw I did 8 of these premium pork chops in those 2 eggs. And I still have about half an egg's worth of egg in the bottom here. All right. Now you are going to have a little extra dredge. You can save your dredge if you're going to cook the same thing. You can put it in a Ziploc and put it in the freezer. That way anything that got into it won't degrade and, you know, get nasty. I don't recommend saving your dredge, you know, but if you're broke, I get it. Pandemic's been hard on folks. So if you need to save that dredge, you feel free, okay? Just make sure you freeze it. Unless you're going to use it in the next day or 2. If you're going to use it in the next day or 2, just put it in that Ziploc and stick it in your fridge, okay? But ideally, you don't want to save your dredge, okay? Cross-contamination is a booger, and I try really hard not to give my family salmonella, okay? Salmonella will be one of those things, or trichinosis can come from pork too. That's more like worm parasites. I don't want that either, thanks. I'll pass. I have enough medical issues to go on. All right, so we've got all 8 of our pork chops done. And I just have I have a lot of flour left, so you probably could have used just a cup if you have the same amount of pork chops I did. But if you didn't, you know, or had bigger chops, or even chops with bones in them, you'll probably use more than I did. Those chops with bones in them are definitely a little bit bigger. So I'm just rinsing all this caked on dredge off my fingers so my hands are clean and ready to go and they won't be sticky. Sorry about that, folks. It'll take just a minute because it gets pretty cakey from that egg and flour. So I'm trying to be kind of thorough. If you have trouble with this, you could always put an old toothbrush that you retired to wash hands with and wash under your nails. Just make sure it's not too worn out or it's not going to do you any good. But you can use that. Clear off all this. And give my countertop a quick wipe so that I'm not fighting it later. Now, you see how pretty and breaded those pork chops are, and they're going to be lovely. My wife is already happy that I've capitulated. I told her last night there was only 1 pork chop each, and she threw a fit. So now there's 2 pork chops each, and well, actually close to 3, like 2 and 2/3 pork chops each. All right. So I have washed my hands. Now, instead of drying them, that is the sound you want to hear from your oil. Your oil is hot enough when you hear that sound, that exact sound. So I've got half a skillet of oil over here. And I take a big serving fork. That's how I like to put them in there. I'll move my mittens. And I'm going to take that first pork chop, and I have it pinched between my finger and the fork is hanging down, and I'm just gently lowering that pork chop into that hot oil. So, gently lower, and you don't want to crowd them, okay? Don't crowd your pork chops. Try to fit ones that have a shape that'll fit better and won't crowd. I can get 3 into my pan, so that's which way I'm running. Okay, now, at some point, they will start to float a little bit. That's okay. That means that they're not going to stick to the bottom of your pan. Now, you need to have out a plate so you can take them off that oil. Now I like to put my plate on one of the empty burners on my stove so that I have enough room for it. Now, you don't want to handle these too much, okay? So what you're going to do when you start seeing it turn a little brown is just flip them over, okay? You want to make sure both sides brown evenly for a better flavor, okay? Now, my grandma always put paper towels down on her plate that she was putting fried food on. That is an old trick just to soak up the extra oil, and we are going to do that too. So I'm just going to take, I have the little select-a-size. I'm going to take 4 of them. Oops, 4 off one too short. That's okay, I can fix that. Fred, you do not need to be in here, buddy. Fred the cat, our producer, has decided he's going to come in here and investigate what I'm up to. So, you can do this a scientific way by measuring the internal temperature of your pork chop. You can do that, okay? But I will tell you the trick. When that pork chop is nicely browned, it can be a light brown, it can be a dark brown, but trust me, if you're frying in oil, it's probably going to be dark brown. I will show you what these should look like, and the inside will be cooked. I don't have big, thick pork steaks. You can do this with pork steaks. But if you do that, you have to cook them longer, okay? So, that is the trick if you're doing pork steaks. Now, I'm just keeping an eye on it. I want it to be a pretty golden brown. You know, that brown you like your fried chicken to get to. That's the brown we're looking for, okay? Fried chicken usually has a light goldeny color because of the flour that you've got it in. Now, I do mine in cornflakes, y'all know that. But if you just do a flour dredge, you want that light golden color like Popeyes and Church's has. That's fine for chicken. For pork chops, because we've got the breadcrumbs are going to turn darker than that flour dredge you do for chicken, okay? So that is the key point here. You want to make sure it's kind of a dark brown, okay? We are almost ready to pull these first ones out. And you want to pull them out in the same order you put them in so that the last one's getting that little extra couple of minutes. Okay? I'm sorry if I'm becoming a little hoarse. Give me a minute. Let me grab me a Gatorade. All right, I got me a sip of something to drink, and I'm fixing to pull my pork chops out because they are a pretty brown. And I'm pulling them out in the same order I put them in there. Now remember, they're going to pop at you a little bit. You can use tongs to get them out, but I like forks. Forks work just fine in my book. And you want to get the next set of pork chops in there as quick as possible because you don't want that oil to burn. Okay? So, like I said, we're matching the space in our skillet. We're just going to let them marinate for a minute. All right, folks, I'm going to show you. Look how pretty brown those pork chops are. That's the color we want with breadcrumbs, okay? And I will cut one open so you can see its doneness. But we're going to go ahead and fry up the rest of these. I've got 5 left to do. So I had 8 total. 3 people. That's a good ratio. Like I said, I'm going to do a package of Nora cheddar broccoli noodles and a can of corn. I'm going to put a little butter and some cracked pepper in there. Make that corn just a little bit better. So we're going to keep frying. But I hope that everyone is enjoying the content on this channel. If you haven't had a chance to check it out, we did a barbecue brisket in a crock pot just a few weeks ago. And the follow-up to that video is what to do with your leftovers. And your leftovers for that was a brisket loaded baked potato. Now, I've never had one of those before coming to Texas, and trust me, that's good stuff. And we had a guest who invited herself to dinner. She said, I'm going to invite myself to dinner if that's okay. I said, absolutely, come on. I never turn down somebody who's looking for a meal. You know, I try to help out anybody I can, and we enjoy her company. And I had a little notary work to do for her. I have my notary commission for Texas, and she said, I'll explain what you're notarizing once we get back to the house. Now, I had read through what I had notarized because if ever asked, I want to be able to say what I know from the contract. But it was a contract and for her business. And I notarized that, gave everybody their receipts, got paid. It was a good day. Had Starbucks acai and strawberry lemonade. It's new on their menu, and if you haven't tried it, it's a little bitter, but good stuff. Absolutely good stuff. Of course, my wife, who's a huge dragon fruit fan, totally missed right next to my lemonade was a dragon fruit and mango lemonade. So she missed out. I'm sure in the next few days I'm going to be hauling my butt to Starbucks and we're going to be getting her that lemonade. But anyway, so it's about time to turn these pork chops over. You're going to know it's time to turn them over by they're going to be a light golden brown. Remember that chicken color I told you? When they get to chicken color is when you flip them. Okay? And you're going to leave them in there so they can cook fully. But like I said, we're almost done frying pork chops, and I'm going to make up some noodles and corn to go with it. And this is going to be a fantastic dinner. I haven't made fried pork chops in a long dadgum time. And my wife has not tried them yet, and we've been married 2.5 years. So she's looking for it. Do what?
Good for you.
They're good for you, huh? She says they're good for you. I don't know about that, but I do know they're good eating. So, we're going to keep frying up our pork chops and keep it going. And we hope that that everybody is doing okay out there. Feel free to comment down below. I will answer all comments that come into the channel. We do have several things on this channel. We have cornflake fried chicken wraps. We have Mongolian beef in a crock pot. I use my crock pot a lot. I've got a pot roast with vegetables in a crock pot. We have gosh, I can't even think of everything. Harvest bread pudding. And the next thing that we're going to film for the channel, I think you're going to get excited. Kat and I have a party to go to Saturday, and the hostess is diabetic, so I am making a keto double chocolate cake to bring to that party just for her. Now that keto double chocolate cake is made with monk fruit sweetener. In specific, it's supposed to have either brown sugar or, in this case, golden monk fruit sweetener. Monk fruit is a artificial sweetener with a low glycemic index. It comes out to 8 grams of sugar alcohol per serving, and I think the serving's like almost a quarter cup or something, or 2 tablespoons. It's a lot. So it's diabetic friendly, and I will tell you, I made that cake for my best friend's birthday because he is diabetic. Now the chips, I use semi-sweet chips, so they do have sugar in them. And that monk fruit, like I said, is sugar alcohol. But it was a cake he could have for his birthday, being diabetic. He couldn't eat a big piece, but he could eat a piece. All right, let me check my pork chops again. Those look like they are done. So we're going to rest them over here on our paper towels. Remember, you want that pretty dark golden brown. Okay? Now your pork chops are going to soak up some of that oil. So don't be surprised, okay? Take our next pork chop and drop her in. Last 2 going on. So I'm going to clear away this plate. Go dump off the breadcrumbs. It didn't eat up too much of the breadcrumbs, but it did take up a few. That is why we do that. That is so that we know that those breadcrumbs are going to be what's on that coating instead of sticky, gooey, yucky stuff. And yes, I said sticky, gooey, yucky stuff. All right, so we have our last 2 pork chops in. Now these I didn't fry quite as dark. Not everybody likes a well done pork chop, so I try to give a little variety for my family, just in case somebody doesn't want it that dark. I'm going to gently move half to one side and half to the other so that they have an option if they want them lightly fried or deep fried, dark. So, but like I said, when you start getting that golden chicken color, now see these aren't quite ready. When you start getting that golden chicken color, that's the color you want. Now, please dump your oil responsibly. My friend buys the pork rinds in a big tub, and we save those big tubs off to the side to put cooled oil in. Now we don't reuse our oil because you get cross-contamination doing that. But you could, if all you fry is chicken or something like that, you could take your chicken oil, put it through a sieve with a coffee filter in it, and just let it drain slowly. And you'll get all the particles out of there that are left in the bottom of your skillet. Okay. Got that light chicken color going on, so we're going to flip these over so that the top gets nice and dark like the bottom. So I hope that this is an exciting video. I know it's kind of slow, and I know I'm kibitzing a lot, but that's okay. We're going to make it through. Together we're going to make it. So like I said, you could serve these with mashed potatoes, you could serve them with macaroni and cheese, you know, just whatever is your thing. I'm doing cheddar broccoli noodles and corn, and because my family likes that and it's easy and I can throw it all in the microwave and make it happen. So, but you can make anything you want. You could serve these with country gravy, that pepper gravy, white pepper gravy. You could serve it with regular gravy. You could serve it any way you want to, okay? I have known people to put mint jelly over these. I'm not a big fan of mint jelly, but you could. There's just so many things you can do with this. And if you're really feeling adventurous, you can fry up these pork chops, slice them up, and put them into tacos with some fresh avocado and some sour cream and some pico de gallo. You know, we're down here in Texas. We do all kind of crazy things down here. But I'm originally from South Louisiana, so we're having a South Louisiana more style tonight. Let me check my pork chops. Now they're a light brown, but I'm going to go ahead and cook these a little more thoroughly. Make them more dark brown. If you are somebody who is seriously watching your fats and you just want to trim this down a little bit, you could even do this with pork loin. Slice up that pork loin to about a quarter, half-inch thick. And you could do that for less fat, and you can take that fat rind off these pork chops. But, pause. I knew I had to cough. So, you can do, you know, really what you feel is right, or what you need. Like I said, you can take that fat rind off, but my wife's looking forward to that part. So, it got left on. It was less than a quarter-inch wide, so it's fine. We're getting there. You can hear the oil's picking up a little bit. You'll see some of the seasoning in that oil, but that's okay. You still got it in those breadcrumbs. Alrighty. I think these are ready to come out. We're like a medium between the two, and that's fine with me. Alright folks, so whenever I let my oil cool, just so people know it's hot oil, I put a lid on it so it doesn't pop anywhere, it doesn't slosh anywhere. You go ahead and turn off my stove. I might clean that up because it will splash and flop and everything. Alright folks, I promised you that I was going to show you what these look like inside, that you can see they're fully cooked. So let's get out a little plate. Actually, we'll just get out our dinner plate for tonight. Alright. Let's grab one of these big bad boys up. I'm going to take the bottom one that was sitting here that's lighter so that you can see what the inside of it looks like. We're just going to cut down on through there. You can hear that crisp crust. Look at there. Perfect white meat, steaming away. So perfectly cooked. So, as I said, I'm about to make some noodles and corn. I'm not going to make y'all hang tight with us through that. But from all of us here at Bougie Comfort Food, myself, Mary Landry, my wife, Cheshire Cat, Fred the Cat, our producer, which I would show you Fred, but he's kind of chilling, meatloafing in my kitchen, at the edge of my kitchen because he knows he'd get in trouble. And Lovey the dog, the pit bull, and Abby the Catahoula, they're both sleeping in their beds at the moment. The minute food starts getting done, they're going to be going crazy. So, from all of us here at Bougie Comfort Food, we wish you a fantastic rest of your week, and we hope you have a blessed end of your day. Thank you for joining us. Bye now.